Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins are once again at a critical point when it comes to building a competitive secondary, and the name on everyone's radar is Rasul Douglas. This isn't just speculation according to Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald. The Dolphins have been in active discussions with Douglas, who remains one of the better free agent options on the market. Considering Miami's current lack of depth at the cornerback position, the urgency to find a reliable starter has never been more pressing. Douglas, who started 15 games for the Buffalo Bills in 2024, offers a tantalizing mix of experience and upside. But the real question isn't just whether Douglas is better than what the Dolphins already have. He probably is, it's whether he's still good enough to make a meaningful impact. That distinction might seem subtle, but in a season where every decision feels like it carries extra weight, it could be the difference between playoff contention and another disappointing finish. Let's take a closer look at Douglas, starting with what the Dolphins need most: experience and production. Last season, Douglas totaled 43 tackles, 5 passes defended, and 1 forced fumble. Those numbers are solid on the surface, but not exactly eye-popping for a veteran corner. He'll turn 30 just before the season starts, which typically marks the beginning of the decline for many defensive backs. However, Douglas still offers qualities the Dolphins are desperate for, mainly reliability. Right now, Kader Kohou stands as the only established starting caliber corner on the roster. That's a dangerous situation to be in, especially in today's NFL where passing offenses are more explosive than ever. Miami can't afford to trot out a patchwork group of untested youth and veterans cast off from other rosters. Douglas, despite his flaws, would instantly elevate the baseline talent level in that room, even if he's not the player he once was. When you dig into the tape from last season, it's easy to see both the potential and the pitfalls of adding Douglas. He's known for being a cerebral cornerback who baits quarterbacks into mistakes, evidenced by his 19 career interceptions. But 2020 marked the first time since 2020 that Douglas failed to snag a single pick. That kind of drop-off doesn't happen by accident. Even more concerning, he allowed a career-high passer rating of 116.9 and was flagged for 10 penalties, also a career high. Those are not the numbers you want to see from a veteran corner, expected to bring stability to a shaky unit. The truth is, Douglas often looked a step slow, especially in man coverage. He wasn't reacting with the same burst, and quarterbacks noticed. They started going after him more frequently, and the results weren't pretty. That trend should give the Dolphins pause, especially when weighing whether to hand him significant playing time. Despite the warning signs, context matters. The Bills' secondary was far from dominant last year, and Douglas didn't have much help behind him. Safety play was inconsistent, and Christian Benford's breakout campaign only put more pressure on Douglas, as teams chose to target him more often. In Miami, the situation could be different, at least in theory. If the Dolphins can get healthy contributions from their safeties and better pressure up front, that could mask some of Douglas' deficiencies. Plus, in a defensive scheme led by Anthony Weaver that leans heavily on zone concepts, Douglas might find a better fit. He's never been a great man-to-man corner, but in zone, his instincts and football IQ can still shine. The Dolphins also don't have a corner that quarterbacks will fear, which could mean fewer targets coming Douglas' way. That alone could help him look better statistically, even if he's not playing significantly better on the field. However, we can't ignore the long-term implications of this potential move. Signing Douglas now would almost certainly come with the expectation that he competes for a starting role or at least becomes a top rotational piece. That takes snaps away from young players the Dolphins need to develop. Guys like Cam Smith, Storm Duck, and Ethan Bonner are all unproven but carry some upside. If Douglas struggles early, the team might be left wishing they had committed to youth development instead of going for a veteran band-aid. On the flip side, if Douglas finds new life in Miami's system and stabilizes the outside corner spot, the move will look like a steal. It's a high-risk, medium-reward type of signing, not the kind of blockbuster acquisition that instantly transforms a unit, but a smart veteran depth play. Whether the Dolphins can afford to think long-term, though, is another story entirely, especially after the letdowns of last season. That leads us into the bigger picture for Miami's front office. After a disappointing finish in 2024 and a perceived lack of urgency this offseason, every move or lack thereof is being scrutinized. The Dolphins could have made more aggressive pushes for cornerbacks in free agency, or spent earlier draft capital to address the position, but they didn't. That tells us one of two things: either they overestimate the talent they already have, or they're waiting for the right veteran fit at the right price. Douglas might be that fit, but he's far from a slam dunk. This is where team philosophy becomes relevant. If general manager Chris Grier and head coach Mike McDaniel believe that this roster can still compete for the AFC East, then Douglas represents a move to shore up a clear weakness. If, however, they're thinking more about 2026 than 2025, then blocking young talent with an aging veteran makes far less sense. Another factor that can't be overlooked is team chemistry and leadership. Douglas has been praised in past stops for his work ethic and locker room presence. For a young and evolving secondary like Miami's, having a veteran who can mentor and guide the younger players might be worth more than his on-field contributions. That's not something you can easily quantify, but it's real. Think of how someone like Richard Sherman helped younger players when he was in the twilight of his career. Douglas might not have Sherman's pedigree, but he brings a similar sense of poise and professionalism. If Miami can leverage that experience while limiting his exposure in high-leverage situations, it's possible they strike a perfect balance. In that scenario, Douglas could serve as both a stabilizer on the field and a teacher off it, providing value beyond just snap counts and stat lines, of course. None of this matters if Douglas can't stay on the field or if his physical decline continues. Cornerback is one of the most physically demanding positions in the NFL, and once the wheels start to come off, it's hard to stop the slide. Douglas already showed signs last year that his best days might be behind him. He struggled to mirror receivers in man coverage, and his recovery speed was noticeably lacking. Those aren't issues that magically fix themselves, especially as players age. The Dolphins have to weigh whether those flaws are correctable or if they represent the new normal. Bringing him into training camp with no guaranteed role might be the safest route. Let him compete, let the young guys compete, and let the best man win. That approach gives Miami flexibility while protecting them from the downside of fully committing to a declining veteran. Ultimately, adding Rasul Douglas would be a smart but cautious move for the Dolphins. He checks a lot of boxes they need: experience, zone coverage ability, and someone who can step in right away. But he also comes with baggage, particularly when it comes to his recent performance. If the Dolphins go into the season expecting Douglas to be a star, they're setting themselves up for disappointment. However, if they see him as a short-term upgrade who can bring leadership and depth, then the signing makes a lot more sense. It's all about expectations. Douglas won't single-handedly fix Miami's secondary, but he might help prevent it from being a complete liability. That alone could be worth the investment for a team trying to prove last season wasn't a fluke and that they're still a real contender in the AFC. Every little edge matters, and Douglas might be just enough of one to make a difference. So, where does that leave us? Somewhere in the middle? Douglas is clearly better than some of the options the Dolphins currently have, but that's more of an indictment on the team's roster construction than it is praise for Douglas. Signing him wouldn't solve Miami's cornerback problems, but it would give them a better starting point than they have now. With training camp around the corner, time is running out for the Dolphins to shore up their depth chart. Bringing in a player like Douglas might not excite the fan base, but it's the type of incremental move that contenders make all the time. If the Dolphins are serious about competing this year, they can't afford to ignore obvious holes. Even if the solutions aren't flashy, Rasul Douglas may not be a star anymore, but for the Dolphins, he might be just good enough. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments, what's your take on the Fins this week? That's the buzz swirling around Miami right now. And it's not just about the Sun or the South Beach parties. It's about a move that could shake the foundation of the AFC East. Whispers coming out of multiple NFL insiders suggest that veteran wide receiver Keenan Allen has agreed to terms with the Miami Dolphins on a deal reportedly worth $16 million per year. While nothing has been officially confirmed by the franchise or Allen himself, the NFL rumor mill is churning fast, and fans are already dreaming of a new dynamic in the Dolphins' offense. If this is true, Miami could be putting together one of the most terrifying receiving corps in the entire league. Allen's ability to find space, operate in tight windows, and convert key downs would make him the ultimate safety valve for quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Could this be the missing piece the Dolphins need to finally break through? Keenan Allen's name alone carries weight, A five-time Pro Bowler with a resume filled with elite route running, soft hands, and an uncanny ability to get separation. Allen brings something to the table that Miami has been yearning for: consistency. Sure, they have speed with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but Allen adds a new flavor to the mix: surgical precision. His move to Miami, if confirmed, suggests the Dolphins are doubling down on an all-in push for the Super Bowl. TUA Tagovailoa, who's had ups and downs with injuries and performance, could benefit immensely from a receiver who always seems to be in the right place at the right time. Imagine 3rd and 8, the defense is pressing, and Tua drops back looking for someone he trusts. Keenan Allen, in motion, beats his man off the line and moves the chains. That's the kind of presence that could redefine Miami's offensive identity. What makes this rumored signing even more intriguing is how it alters the landscape of the AFC East. With the Bills seemingly taking a step back, the Jets still unsure about Aaron Rodgers' health, and the Patriots in rebuild mode, the Dolphins might be positioning themselves as the division's top dog. Keenan Allen doesn't just bring talent, he brings leadership, experience, and reliability. At 32, some might question his longevity, but his 2023 campaign proved he still has plenty left in the tank. With over 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns last season, Allen was as sharp as ever, consistently torching defenses with his football IQ and footwork. A player like him could be exactly what Tua needs: someone who understands the game, knows when to sit in the zone, and can make a quarterback look better on those not-so-perfect throws. If the Dolphins truly sealed this deal, the ripple effect could be massive. Let's not forget what kind of offense Mike McDaniel likes to run. It's built on motion, misdirection, and timing. Now imagine adding Keenan Allen into that equation. You already have Hill and Waddle running jet sweeps, deep posts, and crossing routes. Now, plug Allen into the slot, where he's been known to terrorize linebackers and nickel corners. Suddenly, defenses can't just focus on the big play threats. They now have to account for a guy who can pick up 7 to 10 yards with ease. Allen is the kind of player who can break a defense's back by being annoyingly efficient. First down after first down, keeping drives alive, wearing out secondaries. And when the defense finally starts to cheat up to stop him, boom, deep ball to Hill or Waddle over the top. This move, if true, could make the Dolphins' offense as dangerous as any in the league. Another layer to this rumor that fans are buzzing about is the mentorship aspect. Keenan Allen has been around the league long enough to know all the tricks. He's gone up against the best corners, played under pressure, and delivered in critical moments. Bringing that wisdom to a young Dolphins squad could be invaluable. Imagine the impact he could have on someone like Jalen Waddle, who's already a rising star but could elevate even further under Allen's tutelage. The locker room presence, the calm under fire, the understanding of defensive schemes, it's all part of the package. And Tua, he gets another security blanket, someone he can look to when the pocket collapses or the read breaks down. The timing of this alleged signing couldn't be better, especially with the Dolphins trying to take that next big step. If this move goes through, we might look back on it as the turning point for Miami financially. The deal makes sense too. $16 million a year for someone of Allen's caliber isn't outrageous, especially considering the skyrocketing prices of top-tier receivers. The Dolphins wouldn't be overpaying, they'd be investing in a more stable passing game, into his development, and in their postseason hopes. When you look around the league, you see teams succeeding not just because of talent, but because of balance and depth. That's what Allen gives Miami. He balances out the speed and explosiveness with savvy and control. He adds a new dimension to a team that at times looked like it only had one gear: fast. Now, they can be methodical when needed. They can bleed the clock, control tempo, and execute on third downs. That's the kind of versatility you need in January football. If this rumor is true, it's not just a flashy signing, it's a strategic masterstroke. Of course, not everyone is sold just yet. There are skeptics who wonder if Allen can stay healthy, if he can thrive outside of Justin Herbert's system, or if he fits within Miami's fast-paced, high-octane offense. But those doubts feel small when stacked against what Allen has shown he can do. He's thrived with different quarterbacks, survived coaching changes, and adapted his game as he's aged. What makes this possible move so fascinating is that it doesn't rely on projections. Allen has already proven himself. The question isn't whether he can be good in Miami, it's how good this offense can become with him in it. If the Dolphins do finalize this, the pressure will mount, expectations will soar, and the margin for error will shrink. But that's the price of chasing greatness. And with Allen, the Dolphins might be closer to that elusive Super Bowl than ever before. The ripple effect of a signing like this wouldn't just stop in Miami. It would send shockwaves across the entire AFC. Defensive coordinators would have to go back to the drawing board. Game plans would need to be rewritten. You can't double Hill anymore without leaving Allen one-on-one. You can't play zone without risking Allen sitting right in the soft spots, and if you blitz Tua, Allen's going to be the quick outlet that burns you for a first down. That kind of offensive flexibility is rare. The last time Miami had this kind of talent spread across the field, Dan Marino was slinging it. Of course, we're still talking rumors, no press conference, no official team post, but the buzz is loud and growing. If it's smoke, it's thick, and where there's this much smoke in the NFL, fire usually follows. The league better be paying attention. Miami might be cooking something big. What's fascinating is how quickly the narrative around Miami can shift. Just a year ago, there were legitimate questions about whether Tua was the long-term answer. Now, with the addition of someone like Keenan Allen, the tone changes entirely. Instead of can Tua survive, it becomes can anyone stop this offense? That's the power of a high IQ receiver who knows how to win his matchups and make plays under pressure. And let's be real, if Miami doesn't strike now, when will they? The window is open, the talent is there, and the coaching is aligned. Adding Allen might be the clearest signal. Yet that the Dolphins are not content with being a fun team, they want to be feared. Whether or not this deal is officially done, one thing's certain, Miami is in a championship mindset, and Keenan Allen, as the rumor suggests, could be the veteran weapon that tips the scale. So now we wait. The NFL offseason has taught us that nothing is certain until pens hit paper and logos change on social media. But if the whispers are true, and Keenan Allen is indeed heading to Miami, fans should prepare for a wild ride. The Dolphins would instantly become one of the most balanced, dangerous, and unpredictable teams in the NFL. It's no longer just speed, it's precision, it's power, it's poise. Allen's arrival would turn the Dolphins from a highlight reel offense into a complete one. And for Tua Tagovailoa, this might be the biggest gift yet, a reliable, battle-tested receiver who knows how to get open and win big games. Time will tell if this is real or just off-season smoke. But one thing is certain, if Keenan Allen joins the Miami Dolphins for $16 million a year, the AFC East just got a whole lot more interesting. Stay tuned. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up!